Motivation fluctuates. It can get you started, but it isn't the thing that leads to long-term progress. Even people that you might see from the outside who look highly disciplined can still struggle with motivation. The thing is, motivation wanes. It goes up and down, as life does. Stresses pop up, events, challenges, lack of sleep, all these things can affect your daily levels of motivation. If you're then relying on that system to keep you going, you're relying on something that only might be available to you half the year. People often wait for some form of motivation to come in to get started with their goals. And that can be something that makes sense just to get the ball rolling, but there is a thing where your goals need to work with you within the time frame you're trying to achieve something. For example, if you had some kind of 6-week fat loss goals, you need to make sure the strategies you're doing are adherable for the 6 weeks of the time frame you're trying to achieve the goals. Motivation might be great, just getting you started. But within those 6 weeks, you'll find that there'll be times where it comes up and comes down. Might be correlated to life stress, lack of sleep, family problems, whatever it might be. So the key is to make sure if we're still trying to get towards our goals, we've got systems that can manage with the lifestyle, not be forced against it. Because the truth is you won't feel motivated all the time. We need other systems in place. When we are reliant on these levels of motivation to get you going, it can be somewhat of an exhausting process to get yourself going. You need this sudden spur of energy to get you right into starting your thing. Often that's something you can't draw upon all the time, and it doesn't lead to any cruising results that just happen without your effort. It can then become a very draining thing. When it's really draining, ironically enough, it will drain your motivation more. And then people start to fall in this cycle of getting the energy right up, getting started, and then feeling demotivated when things start to inevitably fall off because they didn't have systems to plan for these unexpected things where motivation isn't the key thing driving, but instead systems or other variables could be. Worse yet, when this happens, it can make everything feel high stakes. And with this really high pressure to make the right decision and get started all the time, it can become quite draining. With becoming quite draining, decision fatigue will come in. A lot of effort style decisions that can move you away from your goals, which can then lead you to feeling even more demotivated than before because damn, I just missed my last little motivated stretch. I fell off. I'm a little bit less confident I'll be able to go into the next little round of starting my goals again because last time I knew I failed. Instead, what we need to do is this. We need to have systems that line up with your actual life. In times where you're not just motivated, but also times when you're busy, having lack of motivation, limited time, whatever variable might be the main thing that affects you, your plan still works within those frameworks and isn't derailed when these things pop up. This is how you can get lasting progress. Biggest thing to do here is have a default plan that you can fall back to. Something that is flexible enough to work within your life of all seasons, but also allows you to still stay the course with keep going towards your overarching goals. I like to sometimes have flexible dieting approaches, specific pre-planning things when it might come to a dinner that's out and about or a social setting, individual goals for each month when you might have different months that are more crazy. Obviously you can compare end of year, holiday, Christmas period to some time in life when things are more relaxed. What we need to do instead is have systems that line up with your life when motivation is high, but also when motivation is low, when things are busy, when life gets in the way, something that's still moving you towards your goals without a high level of effort needed. Because again, that motivation does wane. So some version of a flexible plan that again is really catered towards your own personality, likes, tastes, enjoyments, but also obstacles will be the thing that actually moves you towards the goals. We want to make sure this is flexible enough where you can still work within life, but also isn't giving you so many different options where you're now running into the same issue of decision fatigue, where you're deciding, should I do this, should I do that, making everything really high stakes, which again is one of the things that can lead to burnout in the first place. And it was one of the issues with the motivation group who was just relying on that. They're relying on something that can burn out very quickly. We're not meant to be on in this high stakes way all the time. Plus, incredibly just psychologically draining and not a good way to live life. So with this, you might have default plans that you fall back to if you knew it was gonna be a busy weekend, very highly social. You might have, I don't know, I'm gonna have X, Y, Z in that menu. I'm gonna save calories for this larger dinner and back off at breakfast. I might need to sneak in my training on the Sunday morning instead of the Saturday afternoon. Whatever it is, like something that's very specific to your individual circumstance, but also lines up with again, your personality, your goals. If you know that like you've got such a hard system, for example, that it allows no movement, it's too rigid, you'll then have these unexpected things. You're not having the same default meal as you plan to, and then you just say, well, it's off. This whole black and white framework comes in, and then I'm off. I'm screwed. I may as well just pack it in and go crazy. And then you come into Monday, you're more demotivated because you feel this guilt attached to the weekend, and it can start a bad cycle. And plus, it just doesn't work. It just doesn't help on any different part of the equation. So what I like to do with my coaching, but I just recommend you do it as well, is create autopilot, back burner style systems that just lead you towards progress without any motivation, without any hype, without any gotta lock in, dig in here. Just something you could do, something closer towards every day, something with less friction, something that you can do that just moves you towards your results without really having to have this high effort, high stakes approach. Because again, we need to play this for a long-term game. There's no point, having a great 4 days, then crashing out the weekend. In the same way that I'm sure your fitness goals aren't to lose a certain amount of weight and then stack it back on and deal with all the mental angst that comes with that. So what we need to do is create repeatable, almost autopilot level systems, ones that work with you for all phases of your life, based on what kind of food you like, what your schedule's like and your free time is to eat, based on the things that can pop up to make sure you've got plan A's, B's and C's, things that work with the chaos of life. This is how true consistency can be built. This is how to get yourself off that motivation, demotivated style cycle that can A, just drain the hell out of you and leave you feeling less confident about yourself, but B, just gets in the way of results. It's actually not that hard. You just need to get this set up right. This kind of thing needs to be built, not felt through motivation.